Hey there, and thank you for tuning in again to the Designated Pundits, Major League Soccer on I-80 Sports. Today, we are previewing CF Montreal for the 2024 Major League Soccer season. Joined today by Hady Raphael. How are you doing, buddy? Good to see you again.
I'm fine. Thanks for having me again.
Always a great time. I think this is your second or third time here previewing CF Montreal. Always a great time, and a lot's happened since the last time we've been together. That is to say the very, very least. So let's get right into it, right?
Of course.
Now, a little slow today. CF Montreal, 12, 5, and 17, finishing 10th in the Eastern Conference. They missed the playoff by 2 points. 36 goals, tied for third worst in the East, but their 52 goals allowed for a negative 16-point differential was actually much worse than their record would suggest. Like, when you have a negative 16-point differential, 12 wins, doesn't really add up. So some interesting things going on here, maybe some opportune goals. So that was very interesting to see this season for Montreal. They started 1-6 with 5 of their first 7 games on the road. So you guys came out the gate not set up for success. Finished poor after an up and down summer, 1-3-5 through their last 9 matches. And then you lost to Vancouver in the Canadian Cup final. So even when it seemed like, there could be a positive at the season, did not end how you guys might have liked. Hady, tell us a little bit about Montreal in the 2023 season.
Oh, it was a tough season, a very tough season after a great season in 2022 with Fredancy. In 2023 with Hernan Losada, it was a bit tougher. We weren't expecting Montreal to play that way. We were expecting for Montreal to play, possession soccer, to create a lot more, to take risks, to be beautiful to watch. And unfortunately, this didn't happen. At one point, our sporting director was talking with the media, and he said something like, "This is not what we were promised." So even the sporting director wasn't very happy from the head coach and what the head coach had promised when he did the interview. So that was a bit concerning. Right after, what happened is we had a very good sequence. If I remember correctly, it was a streak of 9 to 10 games where Montreal was always winning, keeping clean sheets and everything. That's why you see the differential is not really good, but we had a good sequence at one point, winning 1-0 for, I think, 4 or 5 games in a row or something like that. That made us, believe that Losada was able to turn things up, even if still the way we were winning wasn't really that beautiful to watch. It wasn't a beautiful game. It was very conservative and a bit lucky at times. A very good defense with a very good goalkeeper in his rookie year was like the key to the successes that we had. But
I
at the end of the
remember
day,
a certain time in the summer, right? Actually, it wasn't even the summer. It was April. Season was looking terrible, and they made what I thought at the time was an awful trade. They traded away Kamal Miller and $1.3 million for Bryce Duke and Ariel Lassiter, and we said, okay, we can bet against Montreal now. They've punted on the season, and that wasn't the case, because apparently that bad trade made your team much better for that run. And I just kind of want to know what you think about that mid-season trade, which I thought was going to be a disaster. And turned out that you guys did go on a little run after that. Like, Kamal Miller just wasn't even necessary for the team. Very, very strange for me.
Yeah, exactly. And when that trade happened, we all thought that Bryce Duke was the one that was like the jewel that they did the trade for. and he did very well for a game or two. But then, the player that was really important for us was Ariel Lassiter, which is very surprising because, we know Lassiter. He went all around the league for a couple of teams, of course. But he did very well with us. He wasn't a star or anything, but he did very well as a left wing back, playing in a different positions that he used to play because he is a winger usually. So he did very well. Bryce Duke had some flashes at one point, but then he slowed down. And Kamal Miller wasn't really the same defender that he used to be. I still think now, to this day, I still think that we paid a bit too much for what we got. Like 1.3 million plus Kamal Miller is a bit too much. But for Duke and Lassiter, now knowing what they're able to bring. But it wasn't such a bad trade at the end of the day. And at the end of the line, it was an okay trade.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the contributors and how everything kind of broke down throughout the course of the season. Because you guys did have not a whole lot of top heavy. It seemed like you had 10 players score 2 or 3 goals each. Mathieu Chonier, 5 goals, 2 assists. Afor, 4 goals. Opoku, 4 goals and an assist. Mason Toye, 3 goals. Ibrahim, 3 goals, 3 assists. And one of my favorites, Lassie Lapalainen, 2 goals, 3 assists. Not a lot going on there, buddy.
No, it was tough. Offensively, that was like really a big problem for us. The problem was not only finishing. The problem was creating chances. And that was really concerning because at the end of the day, if you're looking to hire a coach that's going to play risky soccer, that's going to play the beautiful game, you want to see chances. At the end of the day, even if you don't have some clinical finishers, you're going to be able to at least, enjoy the game when you're watching as a fan, right? And this didn't really happen. So when you look at the amount of goals that were scored, yes, we didn't score much because the chances weren't here. And at the same time, we didn't have that clinical finisher either. So the show was pretty lame at times. So it was very tough, but we were very happy of Mathieu Chouanière. Mathieu Chouanière had a tremendous season. He was our MVP at the end. He was called up to the All-Star game too, and also called up with the Canadian national team. So a great year for him, and hopefully we'll see more from him in 2024.
Hady, if you could put your finger on like one thing, what was it that made the offense, not click? Like, just looking through the stats, big chances created, expected goals, shots on target per match, all of those right at the bottom. But your average possession stats not that bad, but your average, pass completed stats are really poor. What went wrong in that process?
There's quite a few things. I think, I don't know if you guys heard about the end of year presser with, players a bit bashing their coach in a certain way, and veterans, right? Like Victor Wanyama, Champions League finalist, with Tottenham, really saying, not very good words on Hernan Losada. So I think that Losada tried to be the boss a bit too much and lost his dressing room in a certain way. And the fact that he lost the dressing room, of course, transpired on the pitch because the players on the pitch weren't really doing what they were supposed to do. The chances also, that's one thing. The second thing, the system used. At one point, I completely understand that a coach has his own system and his own preference, but you need to adapt yourself to the players that you have at hand. And Hernan Losada didn't do that. Hernan Losada really kept on playing with a system with a number 10. We didn't have that number 10 that was able to make a difference. So, of course, the chances weren't there, and, of course, goals weren't there. That's the two main issues, in my opinion.
Yeah, and with Hernan Losada, what we saw from him when he was with DC, players didn't like him there either. And it was because of like conditioning. He was calling players fat. He was making players weigh in every week. Yeah. Now, we thought he would learn from his mistakes. Were there any rumors of any of that kind of crazy kind of stuff going on in the Montreal locker room too?
No, there wasn't. We were happy to hear that this didn't happen. What happened is he wasn't really listening to the veterans. And that's how you use your dressing room. It's as simple as that. You need to make sure that you listen to the veterans, that you have them behind you in order for the whole team to click and follow you in your crazy thinking, whatever it is. And that didn't happen, unfortunately.
Let's take a look now at some of the incoming and outgoing players. You have incoming Ruan, Raheem Edwards, Dominic Yankov. You guys went out and got yourselves a number 10. Matthias, and you're going to have to help me with this last name. It's still a little new to me.
Kokaro.
Kokaro. Kokaro.
Yeah, we got a whole course of it at the presser last time. So
emphasis on that first O, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Kokaro.
You got Joaquin Sosa, who was kind of a big rumored center back signing there, and Joseph Martinez. I guess when your team doesn't score, you go and just get someone who's a proven Major League Soccer goal scorer. Mm-hmm. I don't know what he's got left in the tank, but I know when you put him in front of the net, the ball's going to go in. So I do like some of these moves, even if they're just for depth. Outgoing, Aaron Herrera, Romel Quioto, James Pantemis, and Zachary Brault-Guillard, who I thought would never leave Montreal. He seemed like he was just like a plug-and-play guy for half a decade there. Do you want to start incoming or outgoing first?
Let's go with outgoing. I think it's a lot better. That because I need to transition with your Zachary Brault-Guillard saying, he left because he's been with Montreal for a while, yes, but he never was the first choice. Every time he was able to grab that spot, Montreal would go and sign another number one as a right wing back. So at one point it was Bakary Sagna at first, the French international. Right after it was Alistair Johnston, and last year it was Aaron Herrera. And every time it felt for Zachary Brault-Guillard, it felt like Montreal didn't really trust him. At the same time, he wanted to go back to Europe because I don't know if you guys know, but he's a homegrown for Lyon, so he was formed in Lyon in France, and he had some touches with Clermont in Ligue 1, but it didn't really happen. So he was looking to go back to Europe. James Pantemis, unfortunately, maybe he's the unluckiest guy in the world in a certain way. He was supposed to be the number one and then got injured on his first game. And as soon as he got injured, Jonathan Sirois came and made the spot his. And he was never able to come back because Sirois was doing so well. So, of course, being 26, he wanted to have first-team soccer. So he decided to leave. Now, of course, he went to Portland, and he's not going to be the first goalkeeper because Max Kepo was there too. So that's something else. Robin Quioto, he was so good for Montreal and one of the best players that we've had, maybe all time in a certain way. One of the best, not the best, of course, but one of the best, one of the 5 best maybe. But his conditioning, the way he's not very disciplined. He gets injured a lot. He tends to be overweight when coming back from the break and stuff like that. So last year he missed so many games just because he's not very serious. So it was time for him to go. And I don't know if you guys saw, but he signed in Iran. 2 weeks later, he was released. So now he's signed with the Emirates, in a club in the Emirates. So he's not fit enough. So, he's gone elsewhere. And at last, Aaron Herrera. It was a great signing when we first got it. I was very, very happy. it worked a bit in some games, but then he got injured, and then the front office realized that was a way to make it work without him. We got a very good offer for him that was accepted, and at the same time, we were able to find a good replacement for less money in one. So I can switch. I did the transition for the incoming players, so I can go ahead and switch if you guys want to. So we got Ruan. We're very happy.
Ruan, one of the fastest players in Major League Soccer. He's going to be tearing up the right side of the field there.
Yeah, and it's tough for Montreal when we sign Ruan, because Ruan is the one that injured Piatti a few years ago when he was playing with Orlando. And all the fans still remember that because he injured Piatti, and then Piatti got a card and Ruan didn't get anything. So when he was first signed, of course, there was some kind of a backlash online of like, why did we sign him? We hate him and stuff like that. But everybody is aware of what he's able to bring. And everybody was very happy because he's a great right wing back for Montreal.
He does one good thing for you guys, and all will be forgiven, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Just a few crosses here and there, we'll be very happy.
Exactly.
Raheem Edwards, it's his second stint with CF Montreal.
Yeah.
The first one, he was playing as a winger back then. It wasn't very successful. He didn't stay in Montreal for too long, 4 or 5 months. Didn't really work for him. Now that he established himself as a left wing back, we're kind of excited to have him back because he was very good with the Galaxy as a left wing back also, and even with the LAFC also. So we're happy to have him back at that position because we didn't have a natural left wing back, even if he's not, because he was a winger before. We're using wingers at left wing back for so long that it's nice to have someone that really made that position his be in the squad. That's a big plus for us.
I love it. So let's talk about the attackers now, because this is what we really need to get to. Kokero is going to be up top with Opoku, we assume, for a little bit, and then maybe a little bit of Joseph Martinez sprinkled in there. That is going to be a better attack than last year. I could say that with certainty. It's not saying a lot, but I can say that with certainty there. And then Dominic Yankov, we were kind of done with CF Montreal for the offseason. We said, okay, this is what they're going to go into the season with. You got Duke there. It's not necessarily a place of need, but then you got Yankov. You got the big fish there. So let's talk about what this three-man attack is going to look like next year.
That's going to be amazing to watch. I'm very curious to see how the new coach, Laurent Courtois, is going to be able to manage playing time for all these players, because you have so many players, not only up front, but even in the midfield that will need minutes. How he's going to be able to manage that's going to be really, really interesting. Joseph Martinez is not coming here to be on bench. At the same time, you have Opoku. At the same time, you have Kokero. So all three of them will want to be starters in a certain way. At the same time, you can't play them all three because you have Yankov, and of course, he didn't come from Bulgaria to be on the bench either.
Of course.
So it's going to be fun, but you know what? There's so many games in the season. I'm pretty sure, there's a way for everyone to have tons of minutes. Martinez said something very interesting, though, yesterday at his presser. He said he's here because he wants to beat Chris Wondolowski's record. As simple as that.
I love that.
So he's about 60 goals from Chris Wondolowski. So, when we hear players saying that, we're kind of happy because he's not here to just make money and just try to just surf on the wave and just get that contract going for a year, because he signed only for 1 year with the one option year. So that means that he wants to prove something. He has something to prove. And we like that in Montreal. We had exactly the same thing with Kai Kamara a couple of years ago, and it worked. So hopefully it will work this time around too.
That's true. Kamara did keep scoring. I think he's still scoring. He's still tying up somewhere. But here's the thing. I could tell you that I want to break that record too. It doesn't make it any more true.
But you didn't score 100 goals in 3 years, right?
That is correct. That is well. No, I mean, actually, I have scored 100 goals in 3 years, not in Major League Soccer. Those Saturday friendlies, I could eat up 6 or 7 at a time, though.
Yeah.
Let's now pull up the depth chart now. This is not made from someone in the know. This is just kind of a little rough thing I put together. You can see Samuel Pierre, the typo, but the autocorrect hitting in there. That's obviously Samuel Piet. So we've already talked about the attacking trident here. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. Duke and Yankov, I'm going to love to see what they pull from the number 10 position. Certainly have a lot to play from there. Let's take a step back and talk about the midfielders.
Yeah, the midfielders. That's gonna be a big problem, or a happy problem for the coach in a certain way. So yes, Samuel Piet, Victor Wanyama, Mathieu Choinière is 100% gonna be a starter. Nathan Saliba is one of the best rookies that the club has ever had. So he's very, very good. It was a slow start for him last year for his rookie year, but right after he did awesome, and he could be a starter at one point. A lot of people seeing him the next Canadian national team player that could be a starter with the national team, and we all know the midfield with the national team how strong it is. But we also have another youngster that's really good, and that's Rida Zuhir. That's not on there. Rida Zuhir was on loan in USL with San Antonio. That I think, I'm not sure if they won the USL or they were finalists in the USL. I think finalists, and he was instrumental for them. So that's also a name to put in the hat in the midfield. Also, of course, you have Dominik Yankov. We're excited to see what's going to happen with him. Bryce Duke. Now I poked around a bit before the podcast, and yes, we're gonna have a sort of double pivot, exactly like you did here. So only 2 positions with 6 options. So that's gonna be pretty tough for Laurent Courtois to choose who's gonna be there, because you need a bit of stability. Yes, you can switch things around, you can do rotations and stuff. But at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, when you need a result, you need to have your first team. So who's going to be, which 2 players are going to be those 2 players that are going to complete that double pivot? I would be very surprised if it's Wanyama and Piet playing together.
Yeah, they kind of seem to complement each other, in the same position. They are very similar players like that. Now, I did have Choinière there in a couple different spots as a sub. I expect him to be an every week starter. I just didn't really know where to put him every week.
That's the big question mark for everybody. But in my opinion, Choinière is going to be in the midfield. He's not going to be as left wing back. He's not going to be the right wing back because he played in those positions. He's going to be either in a double pivot or as a number 10. That's what his role. His natural position is a number 10, but he's been playing a lot better when he plays as a number 8. So in a double pivot, but with a more offensive profile, a more offensive role. So I think it's either going to be Piet and Choinière or Wanyama and Choinière, but I really don't see it. I don't see Choinière not being in the starting 11. It would be a big error in my opinion. Of course, you start with Choinière, and if he doesn't impress, of course, you can lose your place afterwards. But at the beginning of the season, Choinière for me is maybe, with Jonathan Sirois, the goalkeeper, the first 2 names that we put on a starting 11 on our piece of paper.
Love it. So let's just finish up with this back line. Not really a prolific defense, giving up 52 goals in 34 games last season. That was a problem. You got Corbo, Waterman, and George Campbell in a 3-man back line. Joaquin Sosa, we don't know exactly where he fits in yet on the depth chart, but that was kind of the your big name signing. Behind him, Jonathan Sirios. This defense does not look much better to me. What are we hoping happens with this lineup here?
There's a lot of things that happened last year with the defense. Hernan Losada asked the defenders to play in a different way than Wilfried Nancy asked them to play. And we saw it with Rudy Camacho when he was at first with Montreal before he got traded to Columbus to join his former coach, Wilfried Nancy. The first thing that Wilfried Nancy said when Camacho was there is that I had to teach Camacho again how to play his position. And it made us realize that, the way Losada wanted his defenders to play was completely different than what Nancy wanted. Courtois seems the kind of coach that's going to want the same kind of play that Nancy wanted to. So I think that should improve the defense. Second of all, it's very early, but the rumors, the echoes, and what I'm hearing is that Sosa might be the starter and not Campbell. At that point, we would see Corbo on the right and Sosa on the left with Waterman in the middle. Waterman has been, for me, one of the best players in 2023, even if we conceded so many goals. He's been, when he was finally put in the middle of that back three, that's when everything made sense. And it took time for Losada to realize this. And as soon as he realized this, the defense got better.
I mean, that's good. You like to see when coaches can improve players without having to just go out and sign new players, right? That is the mark of good coaching. So yeah, you like to see that. I think just on the face of it, I think I agree with Bob. Just you look at this and you're worried. You're worried about hey, this is basically the same group that shipped a ton of goals in the last season. And I think that's going to be an interesting one to watch and see if they really do improve.
I do have to, kind of agree though. You go from Wilfried Nancy to that disaster Hernan Losada last year.
It's total whiplash.
Yeah, and then you go back to Courtois, and we don't know what he's going to do, but I assume it's going to be closer to what Wilfried Nancy was doing, because that's what every other coach in the world is doing right now. So maybe this team is just going to stop bleeding goals just because they're not, playing super in your face, super attacking all the time. Maybe switch from a 5 to a 4-man back line at some point, but with wingers like we have here, Lapalainen, Huan, you don't want to take them off the field, and you don't want to have them as purely fullbacks either. I mean, this is a wing-bound team. If, Major League Soccer is going to get a lot of new people watching this year, someone's never seen this team before. What do you think, tactics, formation, what is the goal here? Are we running down the side and whipping it in the middle? Are we playing through our number 10? What is it going to look like, the X's and O's?
Very, very early to know with the new coach and to have a definite answer. The thing that I liked in the communication of the new coach is that he wants to play risky soccer. That's exactly what he said. He wants everyone to try new things and not to be afraid to make errors. And that's the mentality that Montreal had under Wilfried Nancy, to play attacking soccer in a different way than Hernan Losada. Hernan Losada, it was pretty conservative. It wasn't really attacking soccer. And that was a bit disappointing at times. With Laurent Courtois, it seems that the club wants to play attractive soccer. We're going to see overlaps, that's for sure. But I think that most of the play is going to be done in the middle. So we're going to go through the midfield and create from there. Sometimes, maybe, pushing the ball down the wings for an overlapping wing back, but most of the time trying to find through balls through the middle in order to find our prolific attackers now with Caro and Joseph Martinez or Opoku. So in my opinion, this is what's going to happen. But again, it's impossible to guess right now. It's too new. There's only one preseason game that was played, so impossible to guess what's going to happen during the season.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go into 2024 predictions. What is going to be a strength of this team?
That's a great question. You mean like what position would they finish? Do you think
positions? Yeah. What are they going to be good at? Just based off of what you can see in front of you right now, what do you think?
Chance creation. That's, I think, the main thing that Laurent Courtois wants to work on. He wants to make sure that the team has plenty of chances every game. That's what he needs to put in place, and that's what he said he was going to put in place. So chance creation and having those strikers that are able to put the ball in the back of the net, I think we're going to see quite a few goals, but we're going to see also a lot of mistakes because we're going to play that kind of game.
That's almost okay, because if you score like 12 more goals next season and concede only like 5 more,
you're a playoff team.
Yeah, exactly. Because we missed the playoffs by two points, right?
2 points.
So
2 points.
2 points, and in the final minute of the last game, by the way, because the Red Bulls scored a penalty in the 94th minute, or else we were in. So it was that close, right?
I know, wasn't that great?
Bob's not sorry about that.
Wasn't that great? It's okay because John Tolkien missed the next one that he took too. If we turn on Montreal for the first time, or we're in the middle of April, we turn on a game just to catch, a late night round. What are some storylines we should be watching? What should we be keeping our eye on? What should we be focused on throughout the season?
Storylines. I think there's a couple of them. The first one is Kokero. He seems the kind of striker that's gonna give like 200% on the pitch. You're gonna see him everywhere. Like, you're gonna see him in the middle. You're gonna see him run, get the ball wherever he can, and just grind. And that's the kind of players that myself I really love to watch. Stats are not that important for me personally, but having a player, grinding on the pitch, that's exactly what I want to see. And this is something that really excites me personally. The second thing, I think the youngsters. I'm a very big believer in playing the youth. And that's a sentence that I always say on my own podcast, play the youth. Nathan Saliba, Rida Zuhir, those 2 players, I think could be very, very good for the club this year. We might have maybe at one point some surprises. We have a 17-year-old right now that's working with the club, and that's the son of Mauro Biello, the interim manager of the national team right now. So Alessandro Biello, that's 17. He's still with the team. There's a possibility that he doesn't even play a minute, but he seems like a player that could be very promising in the future. If it's not this year, it's going to be next year or the year after. So playing the youth, that's the storyline for CF Montreal.
One of my other things that I picked up on, did you know? I mean, I guess you did know, but Montreal had the biggest home field advantage in all of Major League Soccer last season. Part of it was 1.94 points per game at home, which was good, top 7 in the league. but also because their 0.47 points per game away was so abysmal. I think that was second to worst. Toronto was actually worse. So another team from the Great White North there.
That's great to hear that.
I'm sure. No sweat off your back there. What makes Montreal such a fortress?
Honestly, I think the fans. Our fans are so passionate. You know, we have a small field. We don't have the money that other teams have. Looks at a 70,000 stadium. We don't have all the money that comes around with signing TAM players, like a World Cup winner as a TAM player in Hugo Lloris. We don't have all that. We don't have the beach in order to attract those players from Europe. What we have is passion. We have two groups of supporters. We have a lot more, but like the two main groups of supporters that bring something completely different. They're very different in their way of supporting, that are always behind the team. Even on a Wednesday when it's raining outside, you're sure to have at least 11, 12,000 people there, because the core of the fans is always there. And when they're there, you can hear them. And I feel that this has to amount to something. So in my opinion, I think that's the reason why we're so good at home.
Love it. I love Montreal as a city, a place I would definitely go back, a place I've spent some time. I remember about probably 12 years ago was my last time there, and I took students of mine, I'm a music teacher, to get educated at McGill University.
Nice.
So we were up there, and I remember it was in the middle of the winter. It was the coldest I've ever been in my life, but it was like the perfect storm. It was like Canadians playoff hockey, and it was a parade for the homecoming of the Canadian Winter Olympics team.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck there with 80 of my closest high school friends that I can't do anything fun. Very, very interesting time. I definitely want to get back there. It's a huge, huge party town. I absolutely love what's going on there. Maybe we'll get up there for a game sometime soon. Hady, thank you so much for joining us today. Let us know where we can find your work.
Yeah, for sure. We have our podcast, The Ball is Round Montreal. We are on Twitter, TBR Montreal. Every week we have our show. We cover the national teams, the Canadian national teams, women's and men's, and also, of course, CF Montreal. And, of course, my own Twitter account, at Soccer en Folie. I talk only about soccer. Most of the time, only CF Montreal, but I also talk about my European club, which is Olympique de Marseille in Ligue 1, and also Asian Cup, AFCON, any game that I can watch and talk about, I'll always talk about, because I'm crazy about soccer. As simple as that.
Well, thank you for taking the time out to talk with us about it tonight. And thank you, everyone who tuned in. Remember, you can find us on idsports.com, youtube.com/i80sports, or you can search the Designated Pundits on wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you guys. Have a great season. Good luck. Let's do it again real soon.
Thanks.